Well, hi, and thanks again for joining us for another night of high school ECC teen. Tonight is a small group night, and so if you're joining us online, thanks for checking it out, and I hope this is helpful for you. And if you're watching this in your small groups, hi, you should see me in a few minutes when I wander in and interrupt. But I wanted to give you a little idea of where we're headed tonight, a little bit of a recap from last night, and a little bit of encouragement as we go forward. So if you joined us last week, or if you didn't, feel free to check it out, as it's the video before this one on the ECC Teen playlist. You would know that we're walking through the book of Ephesians and talking about how Ephesians speaks to relationships. And so last week we did a super fast run through of chapters 1 through 5, highlighting like a sentence or a verse from each chapter, and I explained how those prepare us to have really good relationships, whether friendships or with the person checking you out at Walmart, or the most intimate ones like who we date and who we marry in the future. And so if you want to check that out, please do, but I want to make sure you catch a couple of things from that going forward into tonight. And those two things are, number one, you need to be the best person you are before going into a relationship, not try to become that person afterward. Or to put it more succinctly, bring the best you into any relationship that you have. And number two is, in the process of that, you need to learn, get over yourself. It's not about you. It's about God first and foremost, and then we're supposed to elevate the concerns and the needs of other people above our own. And in a realistic, healthy kind of way, not where you ignore that you have needs and things that you need to take care of, but in a way that elevates others. And so tonight, the goal is to consider those things, get over yourself, and bring the best you can into a relationship and say, how does Ephesians show us these things? Now, the book of Ephesians is not about relationships. It's not a letter where Paul's like, hey, Ephesians, you guys need to work on how to date, and so let me write you this letter. No, it's about how God loves us and how we live out of that. But if we read it with that lens, we see some really cool stuff. And so tonight, whether you're in your small groups or you're checking this out at home online, I'm going to encourage you to read Ephesians 1 through Ephesians 5:20, looking for that, asking, how is Ephesians calling me to be a better version of me that I need to bring into my relationships? Or how is Ephesians telling me, hey, it's not about me, I need to get over myself and instead live the life that God has called me to live. And so the two verses I want to highlight for you, one is chapter 1, verse 19 of Ephesians. It says, I pray that you will understand the incredible greatness of God's power for us who believe in him. This is the same mighty power that raised Christ from the dead and seated him at the place of honor at God's right hand in the heavenly realms. And so God is working to use you for a purpose. It's God's power that's at work in your life. And if we approach relationships the way that God intends us to, we're going to see that power at work, and we're going to have better relationships because of it. And then before I send you off, I want to remind you of this. This is from chapter 5, verse 15. It says, so be very careful how you live. Don't live like fools, but like those who are wise, and make the most of every opportunity in these evil days. You know, what we're leading you to here during this series is how to make the most of your relationships. Whether you're already dating someone and you think it's going to last forever, or you're just looking to have good friends, I think the book of Ephesians can really lead you there. And if you faithfully engage with this week, then you're going to be excited for what comes next. And so if you want a little spoiler for next week's message, you can read Ephesians 5:21 through the end of the chapter, where Paul says, hey, in light of all this, husbands and wives, how should you guys treat one another? Children, how should you treat your parents, and parents your children? And then slaves, how should you treat your masters, and vice versa? And it's pretty cool how this all fits together and will help us to have better relationships and ultimately better lives if we follow the teachings of this book. So I encourage you to do all that. Otherwise, I hope you have a great night. And if you're just checking this out online, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what stood out to you from Ephesians 1 through 5. So send me an email at dan@emmanuel.church, and we'll see you guys next time.